There was a Nintendo Direct yesterday, which all in all I'd say it was a pretty good one. There was a ton of solid announcements, and the games we knew would be there and be great were, there and looked great. What many of us probably didn't expect were the couple of third-party curveballs that were Doom and Wolfenstein II. These games come from a company that prior to Switch never published a Nintendo game. Well, that's not completely true. They published a few smaller things. Ever hear of Home Alone? Yeah, they did that. But anyway, for all intents and purposes, never really published a Nintendo game. Bethesda announced and will release 3 games within the first year or so of the Switch's life, and I don't think they'll be the only ones. Since before the Switch was released, people have been doubtful of Nintendo's ability to secure third-party developed games for the platform. Their reasoning? Well, Nintendo has had spotty support from third parties since the days of the N64, and that problem really plateaued during the lackluster life of Wii U. Developers didn't trust that people would buy their games on Nintendo platforms, and rightfully so, because, well, they didn't. Nintendo fans would have told you they didn't buy in because they didn't want to buy watered down versions of games they could get fully fleshed out elsewhere, or they're not drawn to games like the ones specifically being created by Western third parties. I would know, I'm one of them. Publishers would say it's not worth the risk to create assets and engines and code that would work well on Nintendo's less powerful consoles because of that aforementioned catch-22. And this is what the state of third-party games for Nintendo platforms has been, a stalemate. A stalemate that many would say Nintendo needed to solve by doing what Sony and Microsoft do. Get in a race to see who can make the best version of the same machine. People will buy it if you put Nintendo games there. Unfortunately, GameCube tried that. In fact, it was even more powerful than PS2. Didn't do too hot. And yes, part of that is because of their media format decision, but it's kind of ignorant at this point to assume it all boiled down to that. Because, as we'll get to later, Nintendo Switch doesn't exactly have the most convenient media solution either, but third parties are doing just fine there. Sure, it made making games on GameCube harder for devs, but hard doesn't matter if the platform is important enough. Devs made Wii games despite its flaws because Wii was a cash cow. GameCube wasn't, and therefore wasn't worth the effort, even though it was more than competent enough to do the job on a power level. Power clearly isn't what sells Nintendo product. Really, when they succeed, they've always succeeded despite lacking power. NES, SNES in the 32-bit era, Game Boy Advance, DS. You get the point. Nintendo needed to separate themselves, which worked well with Wii, but even more importantly than that, they needed to change in a way that was core to them as a brand, which brings us to Switch. Nintendo now has a platform with a clear value proposition. It solves a problem that people already associate with Nintendo and have trusted them in the past to satiate before. People like playing games on the go, and though many will settle for small experiences on smartphones and tablets to scratch that itch, there's a big enough contingent that is really against mobile games and would rather play games that are more akin to what they get at home. Not the half step that was Vita, and not the quarter step Nintendo was making with portable games prior to Switch. They needed to get closer to the home console experience, so they did both. Now they can win over whatever fan base buys every home console Nintendo makes and the massive amounts of people that buy their handhelds. Switch is a really easy sell because it's more than just the new Nintendo console. This makes it easier on developers that aren't Nintendo. Japanese devs will have a field day with Switch, not only because of the normal reason, being that Nintendo dominates and has always dominated Japan, even in the Wii U era, but also because portable gaming is the law of the land there. So off the bat, Japanese devs are incentivized to develop for Switch because it fulfills a need, or want if you're a stickler for semantics. I'm aware we don't need video games. Shut up. Sit in the corner. Anyway. Point is, Japanese publishers know Japanese consumers like portable games, and the only platform that is portable and can run the games that these devs want to make is the Switch. On the Western side of things, this is even more of a boon because, well, Nintendo never really got a bump in sales for being Nintendo in the West. Now, publishers can sell people on the portable version rather than the Nintendo version. Portability is a selling point. Being the Nintendo version is a consolation prize. There's no reason to want the Nintendo version. You settle for it because you want Nintendo games. With Switch, you don't have to settle. There's a reason to want the less graphically intensive version. You can play it anywhere. Not only that, but it's easier than ever on a technical level to make these games work on Nintendo hardware. These days, most third-party games are made for PC, so they're developed for a bunch of differently spec'd machines from the beginning. It'll take some extra work to do it right, but developers have an incentive to make the best version possible for the Switch's vibrant player base. Just this week, publishers of Death Squared, Oceanhorn, and Forma 8 have announced that the Switch versions of those games sold more than most other versions, by a lot. People with Switches are eager to play them, and being that it's a new platform, there isn't a whole lot of competition. So publishers like Bethesda, Take-Two, and Square Enix have their pick of the litter. Doom won't have to compete for the attention of the Call of Duty and Battlefield player bases. LA Noire won't have to compete with GTA, so on and so forth. The Switch is a great place to stake a claim, and whoever gains the support of this player base will definitely profit. We've been saying that for a while here on this channel, and I'm happy to finally see it come to fruition. But those are my thoughts. What do you think? Are you excited to see the third-party support come in? Do you think we'll see more soon? What do you think we'll see? Let me know in the comments. If you liked this video, make sure to click or tap that like button. If you really liked it, share it with a friend that's on the fence about Switch because of their third-party support doubts. And be sure to subscribe for more videos about games, anime, and maybe tech every Tuesday and Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern. Every week. Okay, that's it for me. See you next week.